Well, welcome to the Just Jim radio show. We're here to bring to you some inspiration, some information, to bring to you some ideas and concepts that can, well, let's just take a clearer look at what's going on with you, what's going on with life, maybe open a window for a little bit illumination to see clearer, or a doorway to walk through, or let something in to make a difference. That's what we're here. And Just Jim, that's just me. I'm the pastor at Sarasota Center of Light, Reverend Jim, yes, and more importantly, really focusing on practical spirituality or spiritual practicality and how we can live inspirationally in our life day to day. And we're here on this show bringing it to you in different ways, sometimes a discussion, sometimes an interview. We're going to have a discussion today with RANIE Brothers, a good friend of mine and someone I work with on a regular basis in inspirational work. She's a wonderful human being, which brings a great deal of character to her life, and something I find really important. She's studying in the wellness field at school. She's working in the wellness field. She's learning and growing tremendously. She contributes a great deal to Sarasota Center of Light and who she is there on the board and in other ways. So we're just grateful to have RANIE here sharing some time with us and some information. How you doing today, RANIE?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for asking. I always ask other people and they tell me, but it's great to be asked too. It's a beautiful day in paradise. Yeah, absolutely. And RANIE and I were talking last month, and she said, I'd really like to share somewhat of what she's learning in school, of what she's learned for herself, what she's experiencing in self-care. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, but self-care in any kind of a situation like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, her and I, self-care in a crisis or pandemic. So RANIE, we all have our habits and patterns, and sometimes we can let things go a bit during this time where we're secluded or isolated and change our habits just a little bit, huh?
Yes, sometimes changing them for the better, sometimes not so much for the better. So definitely have some time on our hands, yeah.
Well, and it's a good point. The time on our hands, how we use it can make a difference in how we can care for ourselves or how we take care of ourselves. You and I had a recent experience of listening to those who eat more healthy and those who eat a bag of pretzels all at one time, depending on what their craving is in the moment. And so, but in order to turn some of these things around and move into a different direction, how we pay attention or what we do makes a big difference. Yeah.
Definitely. And kind of what I found, because I am a home health aide, and one of the things I found out when the pandemic came to light was that people were so focused on not getting corona, which is a good thing, but they were lacking in taking care of their diabetes now or whatever situation it might be. So I started thinking, in the long run, not taking care of the problems, quote, problems that we already have, and just focusing on the newest crisis isn't necessarily the best for us in the long run.
Sort of like the crisis being a distraction from what we're needing to pay attention to and can pay attention to, that we can get off track that way. We can lose track of what's going on. Exactly.
And we have a pretty good excuse, so nobody can really argue with us. So.
Right. Well, I gave a talk here recently where I was saying, let's make a decision and an intention to have a turning point. So if we're in this kind of a process, what are some of the areas that we can, pay attention to and choose to change to get back on track?
Well, actually, one of the easiest ones is going to be our food intake because we are able to spend more time at home right now, and lots of people are starting to cook. So now, when you do your own cooking, you have the say so on exactly how much sugar goes into a product or how much salt goes into a product, and you can make more things from. My grandmother used to call it scratch. Basically from the real fruits and vegetables, you can make your casseroles and stuff versus to buying the already frozen one, which always, of course, has stuff in it that isn't necessarily the best for our bodies at the time. So to me, that's one of the easiest ways to get started. It's just focus on what we're eating during the day and making our meal plans and having some fun with it, experimenting with it.
Well, you've got me on a topic that I love. I'm always saying food is a wonderful thing, and boy, I like to use the term clean and green. I don't mean like a overly healthy diet, but I mean that in our home, I do a lot of the cooking and I enjoy it. Some people are finding out how good they can or cannot cook, but the whole idea is that if you're cooking something fresh, or it's not as hard. In fact, I want to share something real quick. We've been sautéing and slightly steaming our asparagus and our broccoli in a pan, a little butter, a little garlic. Then we would, as soon as it starts to give it a little bit of a caramelized, we would throw a lid on it and a little bit of water and just let it steam for a second. Still crunchy. A friend of ours mentioned wrapping it in a paper towel, a wet paper towel, and putting your broccoli in or your asparagus in there for like 2 minutes in the microwave. And although the microwave might be a controversy for some people, it came out so crispy and so well steamed. It was really wonderful. We've had that a couple of times this week, the broccoli and the asparagus. So simple ways right there in the microwave, you can make things that are good for you and healthy for you that you may not think can be done that easy.
Exactly. And I know that like you said, microwaves can be controversial, but there's some people that they can't stand very long or whatever. So the microwave is their friend. So that's a perfect example of a real simple, and price-wise, if you buy your asparagus or whatever, at a produce stand or something like that, you probably get a little cheaper. So you're actually coming out even economically a little bit better off.
Well, I know there's another topic here you're going to get into in a minute that people are going to hold a cross up to: exercise, getting back on track with exercise. It's hard to get on track in the first place, but that's another way to change for self-care during this time.
Absolutely. And actually, we are a society that likes to sit and do our stuff as it is. So like you said, it was hard enough to get moving before the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, if you can just experience, just say, for instance, a half an hour walk, if you can experience that 3 times a week, you will definitely feel the difference. And I find that most people, once they start to feel the difference, once they made themselves do it for a couple of times, then they start to feel a little bit more alive and a little bit more alert and awake. They're more apt to want to do that more often, and perhaps even stretch it to some other, kind of exercising, like maybe some weightlifting or some swimming or, something of that nature. So. Well,
be careful there, RANIE. We don't want to make this sound like a task that has to get done. People will run in the other direction. But yeah, I mean, I've been noticing when I walk my dog and I'm out in the neighborhood, people walking, people getting out in the fresh air, getting out of the box that they've been forced to be in. It's really not only a great way to exercise, but it's a great way to open up who you are differently and to experience yourself differently outside. I know it's a little hot, but the rain helps. We're getting almost every day, and it's in a little bit at a time, maybe shorter periods and longer periods. I think if you get out in nature, you'll sure get a little bit of wellness out of that too.
Oh yeah, it has its healing powers in its own. And I had a resident say we went for a walk because that's what she wanted to do, and we passed somebody and said good morning. She says it feels so good to say good morning to people. I mean, just simple, simplistic things like that don't put you at a terrible risk or anything can really enlighten your day and make you feel more alive and more refreshed.
And of course, there's the other end of that spectrum. We're all getting a lot of time in But as you know, we can get busy, busy, making ourselves so busy we sometimes don't slow down. So it's good to have some new wellness habits too, rest, activity, meditation, some good pieces of the puzzle, and as we all know, in balance.
Well, I'm glad you kind of brought that up, because when we say busy, my opinion is that's one of the reasons why Americans don't sleep real well. We don't give ourselves a little time to unwind from our day so that our bodies can actually relax. We go to bed almost as, with the idea, let's hurry up and sleep so we can get up and do some more. And, that's not what sleep is about. It's not about hurrying up and getting your rest. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, it's interesting to me because I'm hearing a lot of conversation about naps and how important naps are. Well, because we can get almost lethargic in our patterns when we're secluded or isolated. And so it's good to rest, but not too much. And it's good to be active, but not, we're back to that, balance thing. But as far as wellness is concerned, this another word people might, turn off to, but meditation is taking time to sit quietly with yourself is a way to meditate, or taking the time to just relax. I've been doing a little bit of that every time I get caught up in my hamster wheel a little bit, and I'm doing, I'll stop and just go and sit and take a few breaths and just enjoy the backyard, or just stop and take it easy, but then just kind of connect for a minute, whether it's with nature or with myself. Meditation can be a really nice thing to do during this time. We always say we don't have enough time. Right now we do, and it can really help us to get some insight.
It can. And, we're spending more time with our families inside, and we love our families, but too much closeness sometimes gets on our nerves. So it's also a good way to disconnect a little bit from the, quote, problem of the day, and then replug back in. And usually you feel fresher and you got a clearer mind, and you approach things much more gently and peacefully, yes.
I was just talking to someone this morning on the way to where I am right now, and I was talking about 2 times, and it's funny that I was actually remembering them like they were really important. Like on Saturday and on Sunday, I remember not just sitting quietly, not doing, not trying to do, not just sitting. I believe one time it was in one of my recliners that I just sit in, and I wasn't napping, I was just relaxing. And then the other time was outside and looking at the birds and the squirrels running around the backyard. And it was like for a period of time, and I wasn't stopping something or starting something or getting ready to or finishing something. I was just not. And it really is a beautiful way to reset and to open up. It really is. Yes,
it's almost undescribable. It's so nice and peaceful and great to do that. Absolutely.
And we don't do it. We don't seem to do it often enough. I love this idea that you mentioned in your outline for the class you'll be teaching this month, and we'll get to that in a minute. Learn how to fall in love with the process of being healthy. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, that's, if you can do, and we all can do whatever we choose to do, basically. If you do that, what you find is it's not a chore, and it's a lifestyle. And I heard one, some people think, oh, it's boring and it's this or that. But I heard a yogi say, it's one of the most disciplined and hardest things you'll ever try to do is just do good care of yourself, good maintenance, and like you said, keeping everything in balance. Balance is not it just doesn't happen. You have to really work at it in some ways and get in the feel of it. And kind of once you